Are you ready, Freddy?
I'm ready.
All right, hit me with it.
Welcome to the KDrama Show with Ashley and Kim.
That's Ashley.
That's Kim. We're here to recap and relive our favorite moments from the show Vigilante with you, our listeners.
We are going to jump right in, so if you have not watched this super good show, make sure you go do that now. It is only 8 episodes. Binge it in 2 days like I did.
And me.
But anyways, we're going to jump right into it.
Welcome to the KDrama Show. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Kim.
We're here to unpack your all-time favorite Korean dramas and chat about all the reasons that we find these shows so charming.
And so addictive, and we know you do too, so settle in with some ramen and a boba tea while we dive into the KDrama Show with Ashley and Kim. So Vigilante is an 8-episode action thriller drama. Let me try that
Drama.
one more time.
Yeah.
I traumatized myself trying to do my speech yesterday.
Oh, no.
And I started it 8 times. I'm not even exaggerating. It was a 4-minute introduction on who I am, what my name is, where I'm from, what my family makeup is, and then one life lesson that I've learned. And I couldn't do it. I've been podcasting for 1.5 years, and I couldn't make a 4-minute video about myself because it was terrifying to talk about myself. Okay, sorry.
Vigilante.
So Vigilante is an 8-episode action thriller drama that centers around Kim Ji-young, which is played by Nam Joo-hyuk. He is studying at the police academy to become a police officer. Go figure. His mother was murdered by her boyfriend when he was just a child. And the boyfriend was given a really light sentencing, which kind of sparked Ji-young's distrust in the justice system. But in his adult life, he finds the man who killed his mother, who has done nothing to show remorse, and he ends up delivering the justice that he believes the court system had failed to provide by killing him. So Ji-young takes on the responsibility of judge, jury, and executioner when he sees the justice system fail to deliver just punishments time and time again, the very system that he claims to have dedicated his life in service to. Things get a little bit hairy as the media names him the Vigilante, which sparks a social movement that inspires copycat murders and makes Ji-young a target for the media, police, and mob bosses alike. So Vigilante was directed by Choi Jung-yeol, who also directed Startup, which is another one that Nam Joo-hyuk is in. No, wait. I had to put this note for myself because I knew I'd mess it up.
Pause.
Choi Jung-yeol, who directed Startup, the movie, not starring Nam Joo-hyuk. Very confusing. As well as One Way Trip. I'm not familiar with either of those. It was, the screenplay, I believe, was written by Lee Min-sop, and then it's based on the webtoon Vigilante created by Kim Kyu-sam, which only has 10 episodes, and so I will be dropping a review of that next week.
Nice.
Okay.
Have you already read the webtoon?
No, I'm going to wait.
Until after?
Till I have time.
Fair.
I gotta do some homework first.
Homework and clean your house?
Yeah. What are you trying to say? Just kidding.
Just that you had mentioned it a couple times.
No, my house is a dumpster right now. You can say it.
I'll throw your laundry around this room.
Okay, I'll shut up.
Okay. So our main character is played by Nam Joo-hyuk, who has been in Weightlifting Fairy Kim Bok-joo, 2521, Startup, the show, not the movie, The Bride of Habaek, Moon Lovers Scarlet Heart Ryul, Cheese in the Trap, which now makes me interested in Cheese in the Trap, and many others that I did not want to type out. Our second, probably biggest character is played by Yoo Ji-tae, who has been in When My Love Blooms, Old Boy, Healer, that's what I know him from, One Fine Spring Day, and Money Heist Korea, Joint Economic Area.
I want to watch that.
That is a great show.
Is it?
It's so good. I've watched the original, and then I watched that one, and they're very, very good. Mad Dog and The Good Wife. Then we have Lee Jun-hyuk, who has been in Stranger, Love Scout, which is a brand new show, I believe, that's just released this year. I don't know if it's still being released.
It's either this year or 2024.
Yeah, it's like super, super recent. The Roundup, No Way Out, Designated Survivor 60 Days.
I want to watch that.
I do too.
I love the original, like the American Designated Survivor.
I don't know that I have watched
It
that
has
one either.
Kiefer Sutherland.
I think I knew that.
The first season is really good.
I believe you. And he's also in City Hunter. Then we have Kim So-jin, who she has been in... Wow, I did not type correctly. Through the Darkness, The King, The Drug King, Emergency Declaration, The Man Standing Next. So I think she has a type of style of show that she has carved herself into. And then we have Lee Sung-woo, who has starred in Soul Busters, Face Me, Our Beloved Summer, and Extracurricular.
So to loop back to your people,
Yes.
I did the, like, not so obscure, sort of obscure fun facts about them.
Please, I love it all.
JiYong. So his original plan, his original career path, chosen career path was to be a professional basketball player, but he sustained an injury and he ended up going into modeling in 2013. Then he was picked up for a show in 2014, and then, you know, the rest is kind of history. But he also sings.
Really?
In 25-21, he has a song that he did with the main cast called Wish, I think.
Okay.
It's very cute. You need to go listen to it if you
I will go listen to it.
But he is also currently in production for season 2 of Vigilante, which we're very excited about. Yes. They have not given us an official release yet, but I'm assuming it will be at least by the end of 2026. So who knows? But he also enlisted in the Capital Defense Command Military Police Group in March of 2023. So this is probably kind of an interesting blending of reality and make-believe for him. Yoo Ji-tae, who is JoHeon, he actually has directing and writing credits on a show called Talk to Her and My Ratima. I don't know what those are, but I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, to have that background.
But he and Kim Hyo-jin from Castaway Diva, I don't know if you've watched that, they became models together in 2003, began dating in 2006, engaged by 2011, had their first child in 2014. And the two of them are honorary ambassadors for World Vision, which is a Christian nonprofit that provides humanitarian aid and advocacy for endangered and vulnerable children. I thought that was really cool.
So he's now in our favorites list.
We like him.
We like him.
I liked him by the end of the show anyway. But
right.
That's, yeah. Lee Jun-hyuk, who is Jo Kang-ok, the copycat, right? He was named a 2010 National Police Honorary Police Officer and a 2020 Honorary Firefighter. All right. And then Kim So-jin, who is our eccentric reporter. Love her. I love her character.
She was... We can get into that. Okay.
Yeah. She got her start in musical theater. So she's won a ton of awards, including Best Supporting Actress 2017 and 2022 at the Blue Dragon Film Awards. The really interesting thing about her, she seems to be an incredibly private person, so there wasn't a lot of, like, personal information, which honestly, I'm like,
good job
for you. Way to
that.
Keep your private life private.
Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting. I kind of respect that. So anyway, those were my extra nuggets.
I like it.
Sorry.
No, I like it.
Do you have anything else you wanted to add before we jump in?
No, let's just jump in.
All right.
I am going to put not a super severe PSA out, but just, it is a very graphic show. It is very violent. I wouldn't say it's as violent as, like, Kyeonsung Creature. That is a different type of gruesome and horror.
Yeah.
This is just literally
a lot of
beating the crap out of people.
Yeah.
So just to throw that out there for anybody if that's not your style, totally fine.
Skip the watch, just listen to us talk about it.
Yeah.
But let's jump into tropes.
Yes.
So, I kind of outlined our tropes a little bit differently because we're used to, like, the romance story tropes.
Yes.
And this obviously does not apply here.
They're going to Subway.
Yeah,
There's
a Subway, but not one. Anyway. So the first trope I had was the victim that everyone is happy that dies. And for me, that was the boyfriend. And that happens in the first, like, 5 minutes of the show.
Yeah, pretty instant.
It was, well, you instantly don't like him because he kills the mother.
Worst.
And then immediately shows no remorse. And then goes on to just beat in the face of a bus driver who told on him for doing something violent.
Horrible.
And responds with violence. and so he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna
literally
your face into the ground.
Beat you on your own bus in front of all of your passengers.
Yeah, it was wild. And so it was interesting how they just like jumped right into it. But when you only have 8 episodes, you
kind of have to.
Yeah. My second trope that I wrote down was the super intelligent murderer, which is obviously our main character.
Right.
Do you have thoughts on that?
It kind of had a similar... I know you haven't watched it because I told you it really might not be your thing right now. Yeah. And it's a totally when you decide it is, just because I'm a serial killer crime junkie
I was like,
person.
Finish that sentence, please.
But it had a similarity to A Killer Paradox.
Oh, right.
In that aspect, because...
With Trey Wushik?
With Trey Wushik, because his character in that show, he, like, just kind of knows when somebody's bad and just takes them out.
Didn't you say it was kind of like Dexter in a way?
Yeah, there's some similarity to of just like, yeah, I'm just gonna kill you because you suck, and you're just gonna cause more harm.
And I can get away with it.
Right. And so I kind of like that, again, but that's... I like the true crime kind of feel.
You fit the millennial stereotype. We love our true crime.
I know. Darn, I'm a millennial. But I personally, I kind of like that, but it's not the vigilante style. I don't know. But
vigilante.
Like, there's no suave with it.
Yeah.
Kind of like the copycat that we get kind of has like a Batman feel of, like, he's just a rich guy that takes on this role, except it's not in the name of justice.
It's in the name of, like, excitement.
I just want to do this and I can take out the bad guys.
Yeah.
And so JiYong doesn't really have that. He doesn't have that suave kind of feel. It is raw, like, from a place of personal experience. And I kind of like that a little bit more, where it's, no, I'm like the bad Batman of, I'm just going to take you out because you really, you have no remorse for what you have done. But then also being able to keep himself in somewhat of a check of, like, if somebody does have remorse for that, I'm gonna let you be, dude. Like, you are learning your lesson. And so I do kind of like that for a revenge style. Yeah.
I like that he framed it when he confronts, what's his name? Kangol? When he confronts him as the copycat and says, what are your rules? You're killing and it's not making sense. You can't be a part of my team if you don't have rules. Like, you don't have any convictions behind this. You're just blindly going out and saying, I'll deliver this in the name of justice. But he didn't have any frame for what that justice was. And he was like, I can't have a wild card like you just going out and killing people and putting my name on it. Like, we got to get on the same page here.
That makes you the Joker.
And I actually...
Literally.
But even the Joker had a rule. Like, it was just... Batman.
Just Batman.
It was just Batman. Joker has a very interesting psyche. And by interesting, I mean...
horrifying.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We should actually talk about Joker sometime.
Okay.
Anyways.
I love him as a villain, so I'm in.
You would. My little psychopath. My little psychopath lover. No, I really liked that interaction because it gives us a lot of, like, insight into the thought process that JiYong is going through when he's selecting his victims.
His targets, yeah.
And just that there is a structure, there's a rule system. He has his own law that he answers to. And in his mind, it's not something internalized, it's something that just is, and nobody is meeting that expectation or following the law.
Anything, right?
Yeah, because it was almost like a community thing. Everybody agreed he's bad and probably should be in jail. And then the system let him out. The system failed society, right? And so that's his rule. That's his ultimate truth. So we have the uber intelligent murderer who locks horns with the very capable cop who almost thinks like him. And
there's some similarities in their actions as well.
They exist on the same wavelength, right?
Yeah.
It's just that one of them has decided this is my higher authority and the other one has decided this is my higher authority. Mm-hmm. So really they're kind of the same person.
Oh, completely.
With the same motivators. They've just gone in different directions. I think, what's the show I'm thinking of?
You got to give me a little something so I can help you.
Just that has that same like structure where Catch Me If You Can.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that in
with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks. I think it is, right?
Yeah, probably.
It's the detective.
It's been at least 20 years since I've seen that, so
yeah.
I'm not entirely sure.
But it's just kind of like where he was unrelenting in finding this kid, right? Mm-hmm. And the kid was so smart. I mean, he passed the bar studying it in 2 weeks. Like, he was literal smart. Genius. Mensa member style genius. Mm-hmm. And just that they both were just unrelenting and equally matched, which is kind of what made it a game of chess for both of them, I think, in a way. A challenge. And we see that with JiYong and JoHeon, where JoHeon's like, I can convert you for this side of the aisle. And JiYong's like, I'm going to let him believe that he's converting me to this side of the aisle so that I can turn him into an asset.
Right. Help me out.
Yeah, he's going to become a vigilante is what he tells Kangwook, which is...
I'm going to turn him into one.
Because at first you're like, wow, JoHeon actually got through to him. And then you realize, no, he's too smart for that. He's playing the game. He wants you to think that he's being pulled in so that there's mutual trust. He's playing to his ego because JiYong has an ego. And,
they both do, which is why they.
Yeah, it's such an interesting clash. I really liked their whole like give and take, their tit for tat thing they had going on.
Well, and just how quickly, like JoHeon knew who it was. Yeah, like, not I wouldn't say right away, but it did not take him very long. No, like maybe less than a week on the case, and was just like, this is who I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. So obviously that shows his scary smarts
aptitude, for the job.
This is why I can do what I do. Because even, pulling him out and being like, where were you? What were you doing? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like,
deny. Do I
have to answer this question here?
Right.
But even him being more the vigilante style himself, of every time he starts to get serious with an interrogation, I'm going to speak informally with you now. And you're like, oh, somebody's going to die, as he literally throws somebody over the side of a building and is like, hold on tight.
Well, it wasn't even that. For me, that was when he assigned guilt. Mm-hmm. As soon as he assigns guilt to you, he's like, I'm no longer going to treat you with respect because you don't deserve it. That was his role. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
that was
follows
his
that same pattern.
Compass, yeah.
But maybe just less murdery most of the time.
Still terrifying.
Because then you have that interaction with
MiRyeo?
MiRyeo. Yeah. MiRyeo, where
the reporter,
he says, I'm going to speak informally to you because he's assigning guilt, and she's like, no, you're not.
I loved that moment because part of me went like, okay, buddy, every time you say that, somebody gets hit.
I know, right? You're like, oh.
So let's backpedal just
put your hockey mask on.
But I loved her in that moment because she was like, you have nothing on me. You don't get to do that. And
I've not broken the law.
Stepping up to him and being like, try it. Mm-hmm. I dare you. Yeah. And I would assume in his career. A little bit of
sexual tension.
Probably.
After that moment.
Probably a lot.
Yeah.
But there was that moment of like, no one has stood up to this man like that. Of like, I have done nothing. You don't get to just tell me that this is your crime and smack. Yeah. So that was just a great.
Because, I mean, all of the other people knew that they were guilty. And while maybe what she was doing wasn't morally right, in some ways. Honestly, it kind of ended up being morally ambiguous to where he couldn't assign the law to it. And that's his source of truth, right?
Right.
So if he couldn't assign the law to it, then maybe I can't slap you in the face and speak to you informally. You got a point, okay.
Maybe I do have to take a step back now.
Woman. The blurred lines between villain and hero, which we've kind of touched on a little bit.
Yeah.
And the main two are obviously JoHeon and
JiYong.
And JiYong, who sort of dance across the same aisle back and forth.
Which is different for Kangok, though, because he doesn't have any blurred lines.
Blurred lines.
Literally. But he doesn't. He's just like, oh, I guess I have to be kept in check now if I want to participate in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, it is all a game to him, right?
Like, it's not like, this kind of, like we said earlier, like, when JiYong's like, what are your rules? Kangok's like, you have rules? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I thought
we were just taking out bad people.
Let's just do it. Like, yeah. So that would have been a far terrifying moment for him had JoHeon come up to him and been like, I'm gonna speak informally, and he'd be like, I beg your finest pardon. Lawyer.
I'm still rich. And then the final one that I had was the red herring. And I think the most obvious one, which, of course, spoilers, obviously.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah. The misdirection with the friend being the copycat.
Yeah.
I thought that was well done. They didn't linger on it too long.
Mm-mm.
And it was almost to the point where when they showed us that it was Kangok, I kind of wanted it to be the friend in a weird way.
Yeah.
Because that would have been just such an interesting... And the way that they duke it out on the basketball court, I was like, oh, it's absolutely him.
Well, it's almost like he knew anyway.
And he did.
Because it was...
He knew from, day one that it was...
He kind of figured it out.
He just didn't want to say anything because then he's
guilty by association.
He's put in an awkward position where do I turn in my really good friend who I think is a good guy that is just murking people,
but I don't disagree with it.
Exactly.
Because in their classes he was kind of more on the side of the vigilante before the vigilante was a thing, whereas JiYong was like, no, reform, we're gonna trust in the law. And we're like, dude, you're out whacking people on the weekend.
Whose law are you talking about?
But then to change and be like, you okay, bro? Like, I know.
I think the other, and it was not quite the same red herring as the copycat. But the situation with who was truly at the top of the ladder. I felt like that was a little bit of misdirection, just in the sense that you have your very obvious bad guys, and then you had your police force, who was kind of like the muscle. But then at the top of all of it was politics.
Yeah.
And
pulling all the strings.
Right, and that's kind of the messaging behind it is we can have all of the desire for reform at the bottom of the ladder, but what's trickling down is the corruption. And as long as those two things keep mixing, you're going to have your...
where we're at.
Yeah. So it'll always be at war with itself. It's going to be a broken system. So those are my tropes. Themes. Tell me what you think about these.
Okay.
So I said power and corruption. How do you feel like that filtered into our...
I mean, corruption was pretty obvious from the first scene. And even just the corruption of the law itself, which was the biggest problem that JiYong had with all of it, was the corruption of the law itself. Because when he was sitting in the courtroom listening to the judge tell you know, the man that had murdered his mom in front of him, you know, it was an impulse, it wasn't on purpose, and he has no intention of doing it again, and blah, 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 blah. Taking all of that into consideration, we're giving you 3 years. No.
Yeah.
Beating somebody like that is not a 3-year sentence.
Even if it's
I will die on that hill.
Yeah.
And him watching as this man 12 years later, because that's like the jump, be the exact same scum of the earth. When he finally does catch up to him, I wrote the quote down. He said, you should have spent the rest of your life in repentance. Start blaming the law for letting you go, because I'm going to show you what hell is. And that's his biggest problem. Is obviously he has a problem with this specific individual, but he has a problem with the law and how corrupt the law has been. And that's just kind of like, as he's given his targets by the reporter, it's like, it's the law that he has the biggest problem with, and the corruption of it. So I felt like that was pretty easy.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole show.
I also think that like, it's the power that corrupts. Obviously we see it with, I think it's Samdu is the name of the guy at the top. No, that might be the police president of the school that I'm thinking of. But either way.
Right.
Either one of those individuals, the politician or the police president, they're given this power, and then it immediately becomes a how do I wield it?
Right.
Against people, not for their benefit. And I think, in a way, JiYong, I don't know how I feel about it, because he's given power. As soon as they name him as the vigilante, and not him specifically, but as soon as they give the vigilante a name, suddenly he has power and authority over public opinion, right? Because they're rallying behind him. And I don't know that it corrupted the vigilante per se, but I think it may have corrupted JiYong.
Yeah,
because
the vigilante itself is
just an idea.
It's an idea, but it's already a somewhat corrupted idea.
Yeah.
At least how it was being used in this show.
Well, and I think that the idea of the vigilante supersedes just any one person. And obviously it did, because they had people going out as the vigilante saying, we're going to deliver justice to you, right? So the vigilante was something to rally behind. So I don't know if it was the vigilante itself that was corrupted by the power, but I think that JiYong was struggling with the responsibility that was suddenly on his shoulders to lead like people in the direction that he wanted society to go, because like I said, he was suddenly judge, jury, and executioner, and if he's wrong, then that's it.
And now we're gonna find you.
Yeah, so I don't know how I feel about that theme necessarily circling around with JiYong specifically, but it definitely fits with like the politicians and the you know what I mean. The next theme that I had was redemption. JiYong, obviously, the idea of the vigilante, what it was, got away from him when his friend threw himself at the mercy of the vigilante's mantle, right? So he stepped in to save his friend as a vigilante, and then JiYong realized that, like, how powerful the idea truly was, I think, at that point, because it directly impacted him in a not so positive way.
Right.
And just the fact that he now has to, and I think it's MiRyeo who touches on this at the very end, saying, like, if we were to incriminate JiYong, then what did his friend die for? If we allow him to take the fall, then the vigilante lives on, and the work keeps getting done. Yeah. So, like, now I think season 2 is probably going to take that into account,
More so.
Because that'll be a different motivator. Because initially it was the law that got his mom's killer off, and now it was his law that got his friend killed. So I don't know how they're
the battle between the two.
Gonna redeem that.
Yeah.
And then the final two themes that I had were revenge and good versus evil.
Well, revenge would have been for sure episode 1, but then he's taking on revenge for the victims themselves. And so like the one where the case where it was always named after the victim and she had to change her name and, you know, go into hiding, like her whole life got completely ruined because of the man who attacked her. And when the man gets released and goes to attack her and tells her, "You ruined my life," I was like, wow, that's a typical narcissist comment right there. But that's when his revenge for the victims takes the darkest turn, I think, because that's the first time when he's like, this isn't for myself. This is because you're accusing someone that you ruined their life, that they are now ruining yours, and makes him apologize with his own blood written on the wall, saying like, basically like saying like, this is what the heavens want. And I don't know that I was expecting him to go that dark that quick.
Yeah.
With revenge. I'm obviously not going to be behind somebody just killing people because that's wrong. Don't kill people. But I could really see like where his revenge was like, no, because then he does like for every case, like he's just taking on. So I thought that was like,
and that's part of his rule too.
Yeah, that's his thing.
Yeah,
I didn't hate it at all.
I thought it was interesting. I mean, I didn't like it, but like I liked that he had like the structure. Sounds terrible. He had like the structure to his process.
Yeah.
Where he says, admit you want to live. If you want to live, admit your guilt. He has them admit their guilt in blood, right? Blood for blood. And then he kills them.
We have a process, ladies and gentlemen.
I just love his process. No, but it just goes back to the fact that he has a law. He has an internalized law, and
right.
it's I'm gonna be done talking now.
Okay. And then good versus evil.
Good versus evil.
I felt bad for him for that. Because
for
JiYong, because he's like, I don't think he intended to go out and be like, I'm just gonna kill people who have hurt other people, because that's wrong. Like, obviously, not just being against the law, like that's just wrong. And so I think it took him a little bit to fight with that, because there was that period, especially through the middle, where he just like owned it, where it was like, yeah, no, you're just done. You're done. And when he and JoHeon have that fight and he's telling him, die. And he's like choking him out on the ground and going, we're going to kill the vigilante so that JiYong can live. And I think that was probably the biggest force to keep him in check. Of like,
you have to separate the two.
Right. Like I can, since they're basically the same wavelength and they have the same, I mean, other than just different directions of where they take their actions and how they behave. JoHeon was like, no, you need to, this is not you. And so I think that was the good force, basically being like,
yeah,
we can't go too far. Like, we're gonna pull this back in before I have to throw you behind bars, or you're gonna get in a position where you're gonna die.
Right. And then who's gonna reform?
Right.
When all of the people who have personal convictions that would speak out against this are incarcerated.
Right.
You no longer have any rapport with which to make change or impact change. Yeah, I feel like the external good versus evil was pretty obvious, you know, bad politicians who, you know, pay for drugs and trafficking and all of those things. Yeah, big bad.
Obviously big bad.
Obviously we don't like those things. But yeah, I think the good versus evil definitely lies more deeply in the personal struggle with self, just where we allow that little slider to land.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that JoHeon was the one that was able to sort of shake him in terms of what his convictions were.
Yeah. Because let's be real, MiRyeo did nothing but provoke him into...
Oh, yeah, she was absolutely...
She was like, I am going to give you your targets, and I want you to take them out. Like,
well, and I think in some ways, at first, for her, it was all just like a financial endeavor.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think she started to buy into the vigilante that she was selling when she saw how deeply this went, if that makes sense.
Well, like when she got to the apartment building with the guy that he had made him write in blood, and she just like stands there with like a smirk, and you're like, okay, you might be a little psychotic.
A lot psychotic.
By little, I mean very, very, very.
We're concerned.
We are concerned, sister. Come on. But like I think that's when she was like, oh, I can make this big. Mm-hmm. I can make my name big. And it became very, very self-serving in that aspect of her life.
She was such an interesting character. It was really hard to figure out what her motivation truly was. And I think that there was a piece of her that just was there for the ride. Mm-hmm. She's like, this is exciting.
I am in.
I feel alive. I got a free manicure. Like... I mean, she was laughing during that torture scene.
She's Harley Quinn.
She just is so there just for I don't even know, just the ideation of the vigilante to live on. Mm-hmm. I think she believes in his cause by the end.
Yeah.
But I think out of the gates, it's all just kind of like an adrenaline thing. But then just the more her life gets threatened, the more she's just like, I'm way too stubborn to just die.
Yeah.
Before people know who's trying to kill me. So, I don't understand her motivation. I still don't know if I understand her motivation completely. Yeah. She's a toughie. She was a tough cookie to kind of unpack.
Because there was part of you that was like, yeah, okay. Like, I can see why you're wanting to expose this and why you're wanting to be like, no, there is a problem here. Because there was elements of her show of like, this is where the law has failed. And these are the people that are out because of it. Mm-hmm. And so I think there was that little bit of like, stick it to the man.
Yeah.
Right there, because she gets in trouble. She gets in trouble several times for
makes
her
some
actions.
Powerful people upset.
Yeah, and so I think there was the adrenaline from that as well, that she was just like,
if you're gonna tell me no, I'm gonna say yes.
Then clearly that I'm onto something.
Yeah.
And this could even probably go with a trope of like the battle between the media and the cops and politicians. That's like you can't share this information. This is, what about human rights? Mm-hmm. Well, you aren't taking care of people. You're letting them go free. And just that constant back and forth.
I think the interesting thing, and you bring up a really interesting point, the media itself is neither good nor bad. It is a modality. Politics is neither good nor bad. It is a modality. Same with the law. It is neither good nor bad. It is a modality. So for the way it's the people that are in the system that are swinging it in one direction or another.
Right.
And so everybody looks at it and they're like, man, the law sucks.
The media is terrible.
The media is terrible. No, it's the people who are pulling the strings that are terrible. And until you remove them, the problem is going to continue to exist. You can try to reform the rules. You can try to reform the media and all of the structures that exist. But until you get rid of the corrupt people, it is not the law
going to
itself
continue to be
that's
that way.
corruption. Yeah, exactly. So people are corrupt. The law is just there.
It exists.
It exists. So I just, anyway. Let's get into relationships. Let's start with JiYong and JoHeon.
I liked their dynamic because it was kind of that almost like father figure for him, in a sense of like, knock your stuff off.
Yeah.
Like, you need to get it together.
Before I knock your head off.
Basically. And also, like, as a side note, actor Ji-tae, holy smokes, dude. What was your workout regimen? Because you are the freaking Hulk.
Yeah, I know, kidding.
You are a massive man.
He's like in his 40s and has a physique of like a 32-year-old.
Like, what is his name? Louis
Giglio.
No.
But now you're gonna think about it.
No, it starts with an F. He's the guy who played Hulk in the show The Incredible Hulk.
Oh, yeah.
From the
original
70s, 80s. I have to look it up now because it's going to bother
I
me.
ruined it. I'm sorry.
No, that's the first name I thought of, actually. It was Louis. I was like, that's not it. Ferrigino.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like a scary dude. He's just intimidating, but that's what made his character so
imposing.
Well, yeah, imposing, and to be that, like, listen, kid, I know you have stuff, and like he even lets him like, okay, tell me your reasoning. Let's go. Let me hear it. Because he even tells him, no, finish with your story here.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm still gonna take you down because we have to have a difference between this vigilante character that you're playing over here and who you are and what you're trying to represent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he sees that towards the end, especially when he's like, no, we're going to get JoHeon here because I need him here because he's going, like, he will actually get something done.
Yeah.
So no, I really liked their dynamic. It was just very...
You said it was kind of like a father-son. I was going to say it leans into my love for bromance in these dramas. Just because they were there for one another in their times of greatest need. And that looked a little different for JiYong. It was when he was really starting to go too far with it, going over the edge. And while he had Kangwoo sitting there egging him on and just watching him spiral, because he liked it. He liked the exhilaration.
To see the ride.
Yeah, the exhilaration of being able to just go out and do what he wanted. And to have JiYong buy into that was exciting to him, which is why he was standing up there not helping him get away from JoHeon.
Schmuck.
Yeah, and so he's like that bad friend who's like, hey, maybe you should like jump off that building over there.
Hey, what would happen if you did that?
Yeah. And so JoHeon knew that he was like up to the precipice, about to jump, and he's like, hey, buddy.
No.
I know you got a lot of good qualities, and I'd hate to see you go splat. So why don't you come over here with me where it's safe?
Come to the safe side of the island.
We can fix things together. You just gotta buy into what the system is presenting so that you can actually infiltrate.
See it work, yeah.
And then JiYong's basically like, if I buy into the system, then I am the system.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm no longer able to
do what
impact
needs to be
change.
done.
Yeah, and I think that sort of resonates with JoHeon in a weird way when he realizes that if he's just blindly following his superiors, he's no better than his superiors.
Mm-hmm.
And he was kind of using his job as his fallback to be like, well, I can justify the fact that I'm doing things for terrible people because I have to.
This is what I am.
But then
supposed to
JiYong's
do.
like, you don't have to. Prove to me you stand by your conviction.
Yeah.
And don't do the things they're asking you to do and help me take it down. So I like the challenges that they presented to one another. JiYong and his classmates.
The one classmate that's always like, let's go do this.
I
I felt
know.
so bad for him
Let's go clubbing.
when JiYong was like, no, I'm going home. I have plans. You're just going to sit at home and watch K-dramas all weekend. Let's be real. Hi.
Same. Clearly.
Hello. But his friendship with Sunwook and just like the little pranks that they'll play on each other of like the shampoo and just like chucking their bags into each other's faces on the bus. And like that's just keeping it sort of light, but also especially between JiYong and Sunwook of like they're the top of their class.
Mm-hmm.
And even their teachers say like, no, these two could go out like now. Like they are ready.
Mm-hmm.
And so they clearly like push each other.
Yeah.
And I mean that's their rival in a good way,
Like
of
friendly
like
competition.
yeah. And I really liked Sunwook and his friendship to JiYong of just trying to check in with him, of like when JiYong starts to agree with him more and he's like, you're agreeing with me, this is strange, are you okay? I think I need to be concerned about you now.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to do those little check-ins and even following him out and being like, dude, what is going on?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am here for you, like whether you actually believe that or not. So I think they were good. They were a good support system.
Mm-hmm.
Had JiYong actually like leaned into them at all.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he trusted them.
No.
I don't think he had a true appreciation for them until toward the end. So I thought it was really interesting. Before we really knew who JiYong was as an adult, they presented us with that situation where he's washing his hair in the bathroom and his friend, we don't know it's his friend yet.
Right.
He just walks up and like puts the shampoo in his hair. And there was this really kind of tense moment they built up where you're like, is he going to turn around and just clock this guy because he's screwing around and jacking off? No.
Screwing around.
Did I say screwing off?
You said screwing around and jacking off.
Critical error. Okay.
Bluey.
I know. But he's just messing around and you're like, if he is this kind of person, he could snap and just like throw him into the shower wall. But then you see that he's normal, or he at least presents as being normal. I don't know if he just masks his psychopathy really well.
Apparently.
Because then in other interactions, you see him really disconnected, and especially with like that girl who was the paid actor.
Mm-hmm.
Just very cut off, very disconnected, not seeking relationships, but for some reason he maintains the relationships with these two, and I don't know if it's to keep up appearances so that he doesn't appear antisocial, because he knows criminal psychology.
Right.
He's very good at it.
Or if they had gone to like high school together, so there was just familiarity.
Yeah. But I think that by the end, when he sees is it Sonok? Sonok?
Yeah, so
Take a literal knife for him. He's like,
that was my best friend that I should have
that was
actually...
love.
I should have actually cared about this person.
Yeah, as I was on this vendetta, I lost someone who truly cared for me, not for my skills, not for
The vigilante that was built up.
Right, not for the mantle that I could hold up for these people or the political gain that he presented. It was just, this is my friend.
This is my friend.
And now he's dead. Anyway.
Big sad.
It was pretty sad. JiYong and the Copycat. JiYong and Kangol.
I appreciated his annoyance with him. Because he was really annoyed and kind of pissed off with him for a good chunk of time.
Well, he was undermining his whole...
When he was like, dude, what are you doing? What are your rules? Like, what do you follow here rather than just thrill seeking? Because that's clearly what you're doing.
Yeah.
Flex cop. Kim was asleep for most of that show.
Wait, which person?
The main character. Being the rich kid. And he just would seek out different thrills and go do things.
Yeah. But
Kind
he
of
didn't
similar.
kill people.
No, he didn't kill people. But, like, you're a thrill seeker.
Yeah.
There, buddy. Like...
A bored rich kid.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you have a... we find out, he has a company and clearly doesn't show up very often to work. And his assistant is a gem of a human being to deal with him constantly.
Gets paid a lot.
Oh, he'd better. But I think after the first initial help that he gives, I think that's the only time he sees value in him of, like, you can cover up my tracks. You can get me out of situations. It's never for, like, help me be the vigilante until they at least build up enough of a rapport with each other to be like, okay, you want to do this? We're doing this my way. Otherwise, like, Kangol was just annoying.
I was actually really entertained by him. I would typically find a character like him very obnoxious.
But I think
I loved his blind loyalty for some reason.
Yeah, but that's what made him, like, a great
Likeable.
copycat. Also.
Yeah.
Yeah, but likable.
It
Because
was just
by the end of
so
it, he does eventually actually start to really care about JiYong.
Yeah, he needed to be given a purpose. He was kind of like that lost high school kid who just needs to be entrusted with something. And then they're like, I buy into that 100%. And that is absolutely what he did. And I think some of it was that JiYong was trying to redirect him a little bit and saying, don't do this because you're a fan of me. Do this because it's the right thing to do. And I think that sort of rubs off on him a little bit by the end because he puts his life on the line.
Yeah, he is in for the final battle.
Boss battle, yeah.
And is like, okay, this is the... And even, like, when he... by the end of it, when he's basically sacrifices himself, he lets JiYong chase after the two guys, the one guy, and is, like, closes the door and is like, come at me. And...
Yeah. I do feel like maybe I rescind my earlier statement. I feel like I gave him too much credit. I feel like he still does it simply because JiYong told him to. And that's good enough for JiYong because he's like, well, I can use you.
Because you'll be there. You'll just show up when I need you.
I know that you're, as long as you're not going against what I'm doing, because if I don't have you under my wing, you're just going to go off and do something stupid and that's going to completely undermine everything I've done.
And then one of us is dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Or both.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's go on to the reporter and JoHeon. They had a very interesting relationship.
Yes. Because I love when she's doing her report in her new office that JiYong has convinced Chanok to get for her of, like, we're going to... Yeah. We need to protect her because she is helping us out. And I love that he just walks in and is like, just shuts off her recording. And she's like, and who do you think you are? Your friend of... Just no.
Yeah. Friend or foe?
Frenemies?
Seriously,
Frenemies much? I think because she doesn't actually know who the vigilante is the biggest reason why he backs off.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still like, you're still a problem.
Yeah.
For people's safety. And by the end of it, of them just being on the same side of like, this is why we reported it this way, of letting Sunwook take the fall.
Mm-hmm.
We have to keep our eye out for JiYong. Like, he needs some protection here. And really at this point, we're the only two that can do that.
Yeah. From
the positions that we have. And so there's the eventual mutual respect that they have for each other was very bizarre how they got there.
It was bizarre.
Because it was like, they were not...
Hatred.
They were like, yeah, it was like, ew. And then it was like, ew? Am I wrong? And then it was, okay, we're like, we're in this together now for whatever.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. I'm not going to stand up and curtsy for you right now. It's too cold.
Yeah, I feel like they had a mutual respect by the end, by the time it was all said and done. Because they saw each other, each person's, what's the word I'm looking for? Each person's institution was the enemy of the other person's institution. So, like, the media is the enemy of the police, and the police is the enemy of the media, right? Because the police is always trying to contain, and the media is like, no, we want the truth.
Expose.
And then when they realized... It's so interesting because when she, as the media, is saying, we need to get this out here, by the end she's like, we need to control the story for JiYong's work to continue. So she flips sides, right?
Right.
And then JoHeon's like, we need to contain him and get him in control. And by the end he's like, I'm going to let him do his thing because he's clearly got a path.
Do you really think he's going to follow this story?
Yeah, so their character arcs are very interesting in that way because I don't want to say that they compromise their belief, but they alter it to where they meet in the middle and you see them working in tandem with one another. Because, yeah, that was MiRyeo's whole shtick was, I don't care who gets hurt by the truth just needs to be said. But then she's like, yeah, we'll tweak it. For the sake of the greater good.
Maybe we don't want the entire truth to be known by everyone.
So is that a compromise in morals, or is that a growth? That's the question I posit to you.
I don't know.
Fair, because I don't know either. That's the question I posit to you.
We're going to sit here and not talk about it.
But I think that is an interesting change that happens, an interesting transformation that happens. The last relationship I want to talk about, and I know I'm getting long-winded, but there's just so much to unpack in this 8-episode show.
We're doing 8 episodes rather than 4 for a condensed.
Yeah.
And it's a heavy.
It's a very political show, so there's a lot to unpack in it. But JiYong and The Law. The relationship between JiYong and The Law.
It's always rocky. Because his childhood, the law betrays him. Mm-hmm. Well, the people running the law, as we've already discussed, that the law is neither good nor bad. So it was rocky, and that being his biggest drive to join the police force of, I can do good with this. Mm-hmm. And then also be the the good bad guy.
Yeah.
In the shadows. Because then he doesn't believe in the law when that's what you're doing. You're believing in your own personal law, which is, I guess, a type of relationship to have with it. Because the ending was very... you said it was a good ending, and I agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that the way that he just...
We don't know which
He's
way
contemplating.
he took things.
Yeah, what direction do I go now? Because this law has been perverted in so many ways that I tried to stop it, and the loss that I have incurred from that, I don't know that it was worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Or because of this loss, everybody's gonna pay. Like,
yeah, his refusal to completely buy into the institution, I think he found his happy medium. So he's like, I'll play the game, but I do not buy into your belief system. Like, this uphold the law, it can do no wrong, because it has done wrong.
right.
And so I think his willingness to show up, like for graduation, he's like, I'll show up, but I'm not going to
take the oath,
flaunt,
and I'm not gonna...
Yeah, I will transform the law in my own way. So it was, I don't know, I'm so excited for season 2.
It's gonna be so good.
I hope they do it justice. All right, let's get out of the relationships and let's get into things we loved, things we hated.
Okay, I'm not sure which one this falls under.
I felt that way about a lot of things too, which is why I combined them.
Yeah. Why isn't he covering his face? Like...
Word. Because he knows he's going to kill anyone who sees his face.
Right. But also, like, other than having a Kong be your... erasing all of your trails, like, you're not exactly, like, doing, like, the... That's when the... I don't know. I don't know if I loved it or if I hated it. Of, like, not you gonna die anyway, so you're welcome. Or if it was just, like... the immaturity of his character of, like, needing to actually be better at covering his tracks. I personally wouldn't go that direction because he is so methodical and so intelligent. My initial thought would be that his sense of self-preservation was superseded by the fact that he so deeply believed in this movement that he was... vendetta or whatever you want to call it. And you see this on the bridge with JoHeon when he's like, you can kill me now and I won't stop you. But this is what needs to be done and I'm going to do it. So if you don't stop me, I'm leaving and this is what's going to happen. And I think that's kind of the same mindset that he has with not concealing his face. Is just, I don't care what happens to me. I'm going to do the work that needs to be done. And if they find me, so what? I just don't know that he cared to conceal it because I don't think he felt like he was doing wrong. Fair. That's why I was like, I didn't know if I loved it or if I hated it. Yeah, that's how I would interpret it. Is because he doesn't feel that he's doing anything wrong. I also did not recognize the actor. Really? Like, until after he beat the man to death in the first episode, because I didn't look at the picture. Yeah. I just was like, Kim told me to watch this. I'm in. Let's go. Kim told me to watch a crime thriller? What? My style of show? Shocking. And so once it was afterwards, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Habik. It's Habik. What is happening? But, like, he almost... I think the love part that I have for him not concealing his face is as watching an actor that I've seen in other shows take on this different personification of justice or his version of it. But then also, like, I think the reason I don't love it is my true crime brain was like, dude, that's how you get caught and then you can't do anything else.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's where I went with.
I think it also makes the killing personal. Because it's not like they wore a mask when
they were committing their crimes.
Yeah, and so it's like, look me in the eye as I kill you. Anyway. On more of like a high level, I really enjoyed the pacing of this. I think that if it had been a full season length, it would have been too much violence, too much of the drawn out.
Well, and it would have lost
twist and turn sort of thing
the impacts.
Like to do. Yeah, it would have. And so to keep it high paced, it kept you on the edge of your seat. And I like that the twists and turns, they just were delivered and answered, and we moved on. So yeah, I think it was paced perfectly. I really liked the way they portrayed like JiYong's manipulative nature. Because he does play sort of the innocent, upstanding, naive young man who's in school to get his degree and just completely buys into the law, and he's kind of playing everybody.
Oh, completely.
And especially the scene where he leaves campus and they start to go through everyone's stuff, and his friend calls him and he's like, they're going through our dorms. Is there anything they're going to find? Because he knows at this point.
Yeah.
And JiYong is talking with Kangok, right? And they're sitting on the rooftop and having their little come to Jesus meeting. And he's basically like, I've taken care of all of it.
Don't worry.
Because at first you're like, oh no, rookie mistake. He used the phone in the school. What was he thinking? And he's like, yeah, I did that on purpose.
I had a plan.
Yeah. And then it ultimately gets that officer killed. But, it was just, I don't know. He used his evil powers for good.
That was a Megamind moment right there.
Yeah, the mental gymnastics I had to do with that one was
this is really, really bad, sir. Oh, you don't know what's good for bad.
You don't know what's good for bad.
Yeah. Well, even his now I just lost it because I was in Megamind.
Sorry.
No, that was my bad.
Do you want me to wait while you think of it?
No, it's okay. When it comes to me, I'm just going to stop you and be like, Kim, this is what I was supposed
please
to
do. The other thing that I really liked was the sacrifice of his friend, who trusted him implicitly.
And even tells him that.
He's like, I don't really care what's going on. I just am worried about you. And here, I'll take a machete to the stomach for you. It's fine. Which, brutal way to die. And then I keep calling it the final boss battle with all of the key players.
Yeah.
I love how all of these little kind of like tendrils, veins sort of grow into this one organism, where you see that really at the end of the day it's all interconnected.
Yeah.
And all of these corrupt entities are holding each other up. And as soon as you pull one out, the house of cards is going to start to crumble.
Right.
It's just finding the right one.
What string do I pull?
Yeah, exactly. So I like how they literally brought every single character together in the end.
Right.
Which I want to come back to.
Okay, I remembered what it was.
Okay, what is it?
I really like the scene. So after JoHeon had visited MiRyeo, and because JiYong had been watching her stream, because he always gets the updates, and he sees that he had gone there, and that JoHeon had gone there, and he instantly leaves and ends up saving him.
Yeah.
And I really, really liked that moment because he's not the biggest fan of him right now. Like, he about choked him out a couple days ago, and told him, like, you can kill me, but I'm still gonna continue forward. But when it came down to it, he's like, this is somebody who I need on my team.
Yeah.
And that's, I just really, really like that because, first of all, the fight with JoHeon and was it Mr. Pong and whatever, the
really big dude.
The really big dude. Great fight scene.
It was very good.
It was terrifying, but also, like, I think it was just more terrifying of how impressive Yoo-ji-tae as an actor is. First of all, he's the Hulk in human form.
Yeah.
And, like, literally, like, picking up a car and, like, but, like, taking on this guy that's bigger than him. And, like, they're both assassins. Mm-hmm. But he's taking them on to even protect JiYong. Mm-hmm. Whether that's his main intention or not, he's like, nah, I'm not going to let this kid get pulled into this if I can. Mm-hmm. And also, protecting the reporter upstairs. And I don't know. I mean, I don't think that was his thought process in the moment, but that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
And so when JiYong comes and, like, saves his life, he wasn't going for JoHeon to begin with. He was going because he was like, no, you don't mess with my intel. Mm-hmm. But, like, I'm also not going to let you die.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Well, and that, it
was just a good moment.
His whole purpose, because he has his, as much as JoHeon had planted seeds in JiYong's brain, I think JiYong knew he had planted seeds in JoHeon. Oh. We've hit the wall, people. And he's like, I'm invested in this. I can't let him die if I'm going to actually
go forward.
Yeah, and this is a way to build his trust. And also, a fringe benefit was that society was like, oh, he doesn't just kill people, he also protects. Mm-hmm. He protects police officers.
Kind of helped.
Yeah, it was kind of
the credibility.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously wasn't intentional, but
right. That was probably one of the top moments in the show. Mm-hmm. Of just that little bit of an arc.
Yeah.
That I really, really liked.
Because he really could have just let it play out, and then he doesn't have his problem anymore.
Right. But then you have the other guy that comes in and is also very good at his job.
Yeah.
That replaces him, and
a little too good.
Yeah. White Truck of Doom, man.
2 of them, wasn't it?
Well, one was a crime that the copycat that Kongok had,
and he backs back
had taken out. And then the other one was literally to kill the detective. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, White Truck of Doom, man. You're working too hard. Calm down.
As soon as I saw him driving, looking at his phone, I was like, oh, White Truck of Doom is absolutely... Now, it's whether it's going to be a T-bone or a head-on, we don't know.
Of course, this is where this goes
we
in the
need to
show.
graph this out. How often the White Truck of Doom comes from the T-bone driver's side and how often it comes from straight on.
Dr. Slump, they tried to have both.
Yeah. So, things that I hated.
Okay.
I thought the pig scene was stupid. Pigs don't just, like, eat alive people unless they're, like, starving. If it was a boar, I would have totally believed you.
Or that's what you've introduced into their diet, so that's, like, their normal...
I don't want to think about that.
Diet.
But that would be believable considering the scene we saw when JoHeon is chilling on the couch and there's just bodies that they've wrapped and have thrown to the pigs to eat.
And all of the people that he has taken out. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that was just... Yeah, I didn't love the...
It was slightly poetic.
A little overreaching.
It was slightly poetic in the sense that, like, the mobsters the mobsters obviously viewed these people as swine,
Mhm.
right? Because they were the vigilantes that they had hired at this job, and they took them and were torturing them, and
they failed, and so
yeah, and so but it also reminded me of like Animal Farm, where by the end the pigs were indiscernible from the humans who were the big bads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I just read that book again, by the way.
Did you?
Yeah.
Really? That is an interesting read.
Yeah.
Don't remember all the political
It was
allegory there, but I know
satire, and he was trying to tell people you need to not like Stalin so much.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was like
really,
Marxism or...
really bad guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a socialist himself, the author, but he was like, no, Stalin's like real bad. You need to stop.
Well, you know, he did some things. Just some people. I also hated the nail ripping scene. Gave me some Kyung-sung creature flashbacks.
Yeah.
I was like, it was dumb, but it was also not dumb because I feel like it revealed a lot about MiRyeo.
Well, and even her conversation with Mr. Gong and being like, yeah, okay, sure.
Because she was trying to dig into his psyche while he was digging into her nail beds. And it just was such an interesting... It did get under his skin a little bit. Because he's like, you're not meant to be interrogating me. You're meant to be screaming and crying.
Why are you laughing?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if it unsettled him or if it amused him. Because she was different.
And I think it at least intrigued him. Mm-hmm. Because he was like, if you weren't so upright, maybe we'd be friends. His version of upright.
Yeah, well. I feel like I need a rewatch of this.
And we just watched it this week.
I know. But to actually, like, be able to say I didn't like something.
Mm-hmm.
Because truly, the things that I didn't like were the things I was not supposed to like.
Right. It was intended to be that way.
And it was good writing, I feel like.
It was just
I feel like season 2 I'm going to hate a lot more just because that's how things tend to go for me. I tend to not like subsequent seasons.
Right. I think the way it was like written for screen was so good and the casting that they did with it for the people to portray the different nuances of each character. Like, because, okay, obviously I found it enjoyable because I lean into those types of shows more, the more gritty, more, I don't know, just the style of show. But then there's some that are just like violent for violence sake. And there's some that are just like, what was the point of that scene? Like, it had absolutely nothing to do with
the story.
You're just throwing random crap in there. And I don't feel like this show did that at all.
No, nothing immediately comes to mind.
Because he's not a good guy. He's not, I mean, he would technically be a bad guy because he's a vigilante. He's breaking the law. People's faces and writing apologies in their blood on walls. I wouldn't highlight that as great characteristic traits, you know? Like...
You mean you don't do that on Saturday nights?
We don't need to talk about it. Dun. But yeah, like the things that you don't like, you're not supposed to like them.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason for that. And so, like, I don't know,
I feel like...
Just overall,
they were just given good material and the actors...
did their
amazing
job
with it. I mean,
very well.
Created a world that I bought into and characters that I felt like were multidimensional and complex and very, very fascinating to watch interact with one another.
Right.
And I just think it was good.
Yeah.
My final little tidbit. Did you have anything you wanted to add before? I get into my weird little...
Not really, other than, I mean, it would be more final thoughts types of thing.
Yeah.
So, go for it.
Okay, so you're familiar with, like, those intersecting charts of evil, neutral, good, lawful, neutral, chaotic?
Yeah.
Okay. I mapped out the characters. Because
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Kim's forte.
I felt like... Okay, but I felt like it really played into this whole chart, like, perfectly. I wasn't even thinking of it at the time. I was kind of just thinking about how JoHeon and JiYong sort of dance that line.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more that I was thinking about it, the more I was like, these characters, like, just perfectly fall into these categories. And so I mapped it out. Anyway.
I love this.
So we'll start with lawful good. I categorized Sonuk there.
Mm-hmm.
The friend who dies.
Yeah, I would agree.
Hang on.
I don't think people realize how excited I am about this.
Really? Why?
Because I love when you do stuff like this, because it's like, this is just where your brain goes, and you're like, I need.
You like me for my brain?
I like you.
Okay.
I'm gonna be BTS moment real fast. Namjoon's brain, you have sexy brain.
Sexy brain.
Thank you for your compliment.
Brain as sexy as my body. Are you listening?
What's Wrong with Secretary Kim, Season 1, if you have not already listened.
Okay, so first we have lawful good.
Don't mind my squinting across.
I'll read it to you. It's okay. This is someone who respects authority and helps others. So I had Sonuk, who is the friend who dies in the boss battle bus. Then we have neutral good, which this is someone who helps others with little regard to the rules. That's how I categorized JiYong.
Okay.
Because he is inherently good in terms of his moral compass. He just doesn't do it the way that society should.
Right. Well, and he has, like, his people, like the little Ajuma that he would always pick up the cardboard boxes, and
I
it was
freaking
literally
knew she was gonna die.
But it was literally because he cared about her, and it was just like, no, I'm just gonna help you out. It wasn't like
he cares about the little guy.
Yeah.
Then we have chaotic good, which is someone who values freedom and doesn't like when authority intervenes. And I put MiRyeo into that category.
Yeah.
Because she was very much, like you said, fight the man. Also on the boss battle bus. So
say that 4 times fast.
No, I can't. Then we have lawful neutral, which is someone who highly values order and tradition. And I categorized Professor Lee Junhyop there.
Yeah.
The professor who...
They're working on the app.
He knows that it's JiYong, but he's quiet about it because he is part of the institution. And he's like, my silence is buying you time, my friend, but I can't step out of my role to help you directly.
Yeah.
Then we have true neutral. And I actually put JoHeon here because he is almost the protagonist in this story because he is fighting for good on
multiple fronts.
Yeah, and he doesn't like the corruption, but he feels that he has to compromise in those areas in order to fight against it. So he takes the bad and he takes the good, and he's like, that's just reality. Let's move forward with it. Yeah. So I felt like he was truly just kind of
the actual neutral.
Yeah. All of these people who are actually like psychology majors are gonna come for me in the comments, and I don't know. Anyway.
Just let us have it, okay?
Chaotic neutral is an individualist who holds personal freedom above all else, and I put the Catholic assassin Mr. Bong here. So he is very self-seeking, but he does not view what he does necessarily as good or bad. It's just his job.
Yeah, just something I have to do.
Yeah, there's no like emotion attached to it. I've been paid, I'm gonna go do it, and then I'm gonna leave, and I'm gonna go pray with my rosary.
That's almost like the most terrifying person.
It really is, because he's so detached from it. And it's all transactional.
Because chaotic evil, they're just terrible. chaotic neutral, when there's no emotion attached, that's almost worse.
Yeah, it's like there's not enjoyment. It just is. Then next we have lawful evil, which is someone who uses systems to their advantage, and I categorized the president of the school. I think it was Captain Un. Was that his name?
I don't remember.
I can't think of his name, but it's the president of the school
Okay.
who basically is, manipulating the media. He's running in with corrupt politicians, and he's also hiring assassins to go kill people.
He's not good.
Yeah, he's no bueno. Also in the boss battle. Then we have neutral evil, which is a self-serving individual regardless of the impact on others. And here I categorized Kangok, the copycat, because, right, he doesn't really have a moral compass. He just has JiYong.
I'm Batman.
Yeah, I'm Batman.
But bad.
But I'm somehow also the sidekick. So yeah, he's just there for the kicks
Alfred.
and the giggles. He's all of it.
He's all of it.
He's also what is her name? That's gonna drive me nuts. Oracle?
I'm not sure.
I think it's after Barbara gets shot in the spine by Joker, and then she decides that she's gonna be like a computer genius.
I don't remember.
So she like sits at home and like does all the computer stuff. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so he is neutral evil.
I would agree.
And then we have chaotic evil, which is cruel with no regard for others, and that's Kim Samdu, the one who feeds people to pigs.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun doing that for some reason.
I don't know why you mean for some reason. That's
I'm so glad you get me.
Our multiple spreadsheets that we have not gone back to for a minute.
Oh, I updated it this week.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
I'm so proud.
Oh, thanks. Anyway.
Yeah, no, those are perfect. Like, truly, like...
And they all come together at the end. And they all play their role in the final boss battle at the stadium.
On the bus. I was just trying to throw the other...
Yeah, the boss battle bus.
Big bus. Big boss bus battle.
Don't do this to me.
I'm not saying that again. I don't think I could.
Yeah. But anyway, I just really enjoy how all of those different components join together at the end. And it was the truly bad people who ended up losing out, right? They all killed each other. Character of the hour?
Oh, character... Oh. JoHeon. Because he... I mean, he is that neutral. Like, from your diagram, if he's just neutral. Like, this is bad, this is good, this is life.
Yeah.
We have to go forward with it. Because he wants JiYong to succeed. Because he knows who he is, like we said, like almost right away. Mm-hmm. And he does his best to stop him. Granted, it's a bit too violent for me to stop. But be like, no, please just end it. Like, you're choking me out right now and you've already been punching the crap out of me. I'm done. But like he truly just cares about the kid. And, letting him vent everything out and being like, you know what? Let the vigilante die. Mm-hmm. But then even at the end, to be like, gotta protect him. Mm-hmm. Still, like I think that's really one of his biggest things for JiYong specifically, of like, you're somebody that I need to protect you. Like,
whether you want it or not.
Yeah. If I have to punch your face in for you to understand that, I'm going to punch your face in for you to understand that. Don't agree with that. But I think he's my favorite character.
Yeah.
Because he's just awesome. Like, and because when he does finally take his own stand against the system itself, it's not in some dramatic...
It was a slow
it's not this production that he's putting on. He's like, yeah, no, I see this game that he's playing, and I'll play it with him now.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciated that
Yeah.
about him. But I would definitely watch the show, like, in a couple months, because...
It's kind of a weirdly fun watch.
Yeah, and it's fast, because there's only, like, 40, 50-minute long episodes. They're not super long.
Yeah.
And they pull you in the whole time.
They do. They paced it so well.
So good!
It's so good.
So good!
I think
And yours?
that my character of the hour... I'm torn between JiYong and Sonok.
Mm.
And my argument for Sonok is that he really had no business being where he was, other than he just believed in his friend. And I think that if that relationship... It's hard because that relationship, I don't think would have taken on the same meaning if Sonok hadn't died.
Yeah.
For JiYong. But at the same time, if that relationship had been allowed to actually take root and do something there, if it could have changed JiYong's life. So either way, it was going to change his life. I think that it had more impact in his death than in his life.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was JiYong's language, right? That he spoke that language.
Right.
He's like, I've been willing to lay down my life for these people because I care about them getting the justice they deserve. And so he hadn't experienced the reverse.
Right.
From someone who is truly a good person. JoHeon is kind of iffy. Right?
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I think for some reasons he would be my favorite character, my character of the hour. But then JiYong was just so complex and so fun to watch as we were able to like piece together who he was as a person. Because right when you thought he was going to zig, he would zag. So we were almost being fooled as the audience alongside the characters in the show.
Right. And the actor did, JoHeon did such a great job.
He did.
At portraying that.
He did.
That's probably one of the more complex characters I think that I've seen him play.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I haven't watched a ton of his stuff. But no, he stepped into that role beautifully.
So good.
I feel like I was a casual fan of him.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing him in Cheese in the Trap, seeing him in Bride of Habek, seeing him in Startup. I think that I really bought into his abilities as an actor and became like a fan with this show. Same with like Park Hyung-sik. I feel like I was a casual fan until I watched him in Happiness, and then I was like, this elevates you to a different level, I feel.
Of the abilities that you
just your craft
showcase.
Yeah. So this show was that for me.
I would agree.
Yeah. So
yeah, he was. Yeah, but all of them did. Like every actor, like the casting was fabulous.
It was wonderful.
So good.
I realized that the boss baddie, Samdu, is also in Bride of Habek.
Mm-hmm.
He plays the really disgruntled building owner that
I haven't seen that in forever.
The lady has to go. He like screams at her and saying that I'm gonna raise your monthly rent. Anyway, it was really funny to realize that he was in that show with.
I'm pretty sure he's also in Strong Woman Dobong Soon as
one
of the gangsters that has the scar, and he's just like ready to fight all the time and like let's go, and is actually a really terrible gangster.
Yeah. They all are. I just burped into the mic. What the heck? All right, we better wrap this baby up. It's been 2 hours. We're bad at this. Our condensed versions are not really condensed.
Well,
do you have a parting thought?
Again, if you don't like violence or gruesome stuff, I would not recommend. Otherwise, I would definitely give it a 10 out of 10. I will be watching it again. Like, it's
Yeah.
It's very good. And the complexities just throughout the whole show that are showcased in different areas aren't as common in shows anymore. And so I think that's another draw.
Yeah.
But it was super good. And I really hope season 2 is
just as good.
Just as good.
I'm really curious to compare it to the webtoon.
Yeah.
I wish I'd known it was a webtoon first, because I probably would have read it before I watched the show. That's generally the order I like to do things in, is read the book and then watch the movie. I'm very curious to see how they sort of line up with each other. But yeah, it was a good watch. Definitely will be watching it again when the mood strikes.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that was our review of Vigilante. Hope you enjoyed it. I know it was kind of a long one, but there was a lot to unpack
so
there.
Much. 8 episodes, though. It's going to just be a little bit longer.
Yeah, if you haven't yet, make sure you go check out some of our content on Instagram and YouTube. You can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Please answer our polls as well. We throw out some questions every once in a while, especially ones to do with like our condensed versions compared to our episodic, where it's a little more topic by topic per episode, which we will continue to do because
we can't help it.
We love them. But just that gives us feedback so that we kind of know what direction you guys are hoping that we will go into, or you like the one that we're currently in.
It's cool.
Okay.
Like what you're hearing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any new episodes. We'd love to connect with you on our Instagram at the KDrama Show. For more behind-the-scenes content, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. Links are in the show notes. Thanks for hanging out with us on the KDrama Show with Ashley and Kim, and we'll see you next time.